Hey everyone, I hope you guys have had a fantastic week so far. Today I have another exciting tutorial for you. Little caveat, this may be a little longer than most tutorials that I've done so far. I have a lot of ground to cover in this one, so just bear with me. And yeah, so let's just jump right in. Okay guys, so last weekend was Easter, so I decided to make an Easter-inspired tutorial for you guys. Welcome to After Effects. If you guys are new to After Effects and you have never used After Effects, I know it can be a little intimidating. Honestly, it was a little intimidating the first time I opened After Effects, but I stuck with it, and honestly, it's probably one of my favorite pieces of software out there right now. What I love about it is if you can dream it, you can do it. And so, little caveat, I am using a third-party plugin to get this 3D egg into our 2D scene. I'm using a plugin called Element 3D. It's from videocopilot.net. It is $200. I know that's a lot of money. If you don't want to drop $200 on a plugin, I completely understand. I also will be showing you how to do a version that is free, just with a 2D layer instead of a 3D layer. I'll walk you through some of that. So stick with me. You will still learn a lot even if you don't use Element in this tutorial. However, back to Video Copilot. If you've never heard of them, definitely check them out anyways. They have a lot of tutorials on their site. If you click on tutorials, there's a ton of tutorials, and you don't have to have that plugin for all the tutorials. You can just have After Effects for a lot of them, and it is a great place to learn After Effects. This is actually how I learned After Effects, and I would highly recommend it. The guy who runs it, his name is Andrew Kramer. Andrew works for J.J. Abrams now on a lot of J.J.'s movies, and he does a lot of visual effects and motion graphics, as you can see, but there's a ton of stuff here, and it's all free, so all the tutorials are free, so go watch it and learn a lot. So back to After Effects. Here's our shot. Yeah, let's just jump right in. So I have our drone shot here. Actually guys, I'm going to throw this drone shot up for grabs for free in the link below so you guys can download this and follow along with me. So we can take our drone shot right here, we're going to drag it into a new comp, and now what we need to do is we need to 3D track this shot so we can integrate our 3D object into the shot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on it, I'm going to hit track and stabilize, and then track camera. So what that's going to do is that's going to analyze it, and it's analyzing up here. It's going to pop up and show you how many frames it has left, but I'm going to go ahead and skip to when it's done. Alright, here we are. It is finished tracking our shot, and as you can see, we have all these little dots. If I scrub through here, you see all these little dots that make up our track, and yeah, it just looks like a fun confetti mess. If I take my cursor and I hover around our scene, you can see we have this little disc, this red target disc that floats around. What this is doing is as you float around, it's latching on to these different dots, these 3 points. So what we're doing is we need to select 3 points that we want to stick our 3D object to. The points that I used in my example were these a couple points up here. What I did was as best I could, try to line it up. I think that's what I ended up grabbing. So you kind of hover over it, you right click on it, and you're going to go to create null and camera. What that did now, down here we have a null object, which is that floats around track to our scene, which is exactly what we want. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to layer, we're going to go to new solid, and we're going to call this E3D for Element 3D. We're going to hit OK, and we're going to go to Effect, Video Copilot, Element. Now that we have Element on here, we need to import our 3D object. There's a couple ways you can do this. You can go to a site called free3d.com, and you can make a free account and then download. They have all sorts of things, like you type in egg here. They have a bunch of eggs you can choose, but the egg is really easy to model. So we're actually going to model one by jumping into Blender 3D, and we're going to use that to model an egg. If you do not have Blender 3D, you can go to blender.org, and it is actually a free 3D application that is very, very good. I used to use Cinema 4D, but I have since switched over to Blender because Blender is pretty amazing and is pretty easy to use once you get the gist of it, and is absolutely free. So go ahead, go over there, download it, and yeah. Alright guys, welcome to Blender 3D. This is not going to be an in-depth tutorial. There is so much you can do in Blender 3D. I'm not even scratching the surface of it. I'm actually still learning it myself. I've been taking a lot of time during this whole stay-at-home thing to learn Blender more. I know a little bit, probably enough to get me in trouble, but yeah. So when you open up Blender, it opens up with this cube already in your scene here. So you have a cube, you've got the camera, and yeah, the first thing everybody does is delete the cube. I don't know why it's there. Everybody always deletes it first, but it's there. So we're going to delete the cube, and now we're going to hit Shift A. We're going to grab a sphere, and we are going to hit the number 7 on the keypad. That brings up the top view. Make sure you're in edit mode by hitting Tab, and we're going to select this top vertice on this cube. Up here you're going to hit this button and you're going to go to connected only, and then grab the move tool, hit number 1 on the keypad that goes to the side view, and then you're just going to move this point up, and as you're moving up you move your middle mouse wheel to scale to different proportions to make this egg shape. And there you have it, there's your egg. Pretty simple. So now we're going to grab this select faces and hit C on your keypad to bring up the circle selection, and we're just going to select half of this cube because most Easter eggs, most plastic Easter eggs have a 2 halves. I'm sure there's an easier way to do this. I'm not sure what it is, so I'm just doing it like this. We're going to select just half of that egg. We're going to hit P on our keyboard. After we have the whole egg selected, hit P, and what that's going to do, that's going to bring up an option, and we're going to hit OK, and what that's going to do, that's going to split our egg in half. So now we have 2 halves of our egg. We're going to go into object mode, and as you can see, we have 2 halves. Now, these are basically just shells with no depth to them. If I zoom in here, you can see that that's basically a sharp edge all the way around this egg. So we need to fill this in and extrude this edge out a bit so it's not sharp. So to do that, we are going to use what's called a modifier in Blender. And you come down to this wrench tool, grab a modifier. We're going to grab a solidify modifier, and we're going to apply that. As you can see, you already have this beveled extruded edge, and that's what we want. We're going to hit apply. We're going to do the same thing to the other half. So we're going to select it, go to solidify, and hit apply. As you can see, this egg is not very smooth. We have all these different faces making up the egg, and we need to smooth all that out. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab another modifier called a subsurface modifier, and what the subsurface modifier is going to do is it's going to make a lot more faces and essentially smooth everything out even more. So as you can see, I did the bottom one, hit apply. I'm going to do the top one, same thing, subsurface modifier, bam. Now there's a lot more faces there. It's even smoother. It's not as smooth as we want it to be, but we're going to go over here and we're going to right click on it, hit shade smooth on the top and the bottom, and that's going to give us our smooth egg look. Now we're going to hit number 1 on our keypad to bring up the front view, and then we're going to basically just grab our move tool, and we are going to line these 2 halves up. Zoom in here a little bit and just line them up the best we can. That way, as you can see now, we have an egg, 2 halves, and we've got that crease in the middle that they are connected by. Now we're going to add what's called a base texture to this. Doesn't matter what color it is because we're actually going to change it in After Effects. We are going to name this texture Blue Egg. We are going to come down here to the color after that, and we're going to change it to a blue. You can make this any color. I'm just doing blue because, yeah, I don't know. So now we have that. We come over here to our texture shader, and you can actually see this texture. We're going to go to the other half now and just add that same texture by toggling this down, selecting it, and voila, we have our blue egg. come over here to the texture shader, and you can see it's nice texture. We got the nice gleam on it. It looks good. Now what we need to do is we need to save this. We're going to come up here to File, Export. We want to save it as an OBJ file, so Wavefront OBJ, and we're going to save it somewhere where we can find it, and then we're going to hop back to After Effects. Okay, back to After Effects. We have our element layer. We have element on that layer, so we're going to hit Scene Setup. Come in here, we're going to hit Import. We're going to go to where we saved our egg, and we're going to hit Import 3D Object. Now, we're going to hit Load Material, and we're going to hit OK. Now, as you can see, it is really tiny. So I'm going to come over here to normalize size, and there's our egg. If you remember in Blender, I said that it didn't matter what color we made our egg. That is because we're going to change the color inside of After Effects here. If I come over to the presets, you have the physical shaders or the physical materials that came with Element 3D, which are great. But if you bought the Element 3D pack, it came with Pro Shaders 2, which are a bunch of different textures of all sorts and kinds. So I actually like the Pro Shaders pack. I'm actually gonna use one of these. We'll go to I don't know. We'll go to ground, and maybe we'll use the asphalt. Try that. Just what I just did there is I just grabbed it and dragged it onto my model. That looks all right. Not too shabby. As you can see, our model with this material on it has a sort of gleam to it, as if it's reflecting something. You can see this little hot spot right here. That is called the environment. What this is doing is there's an invisible environment. If I turn my environment on here, you can see that there's this, it's like a studio space. You can actually change that. So I can come over here to environment, and element comes with these different environments. If I go to basic 2K, this one right here is the studio ones, what you're seeing now. For this, probably I'm going to go over here to this kind of outdoors rooftop one. That's going to match our scene the best, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit OK. And here's our egg. Now, as you can see, our egg is in our shot, but as I scrub through, it's just kind of floating in place, which is cool if you want to do like 3D text or something. But we want to integrate this and make it look like it's stuck on the ground way back there. So if you remember, we made this null object way back there, and we stuck it to the ground by selecting those 3 points. What we need to do is we need to get this egg onto that spot. And how do we do that? We select our egg layer, Element 3D, go over here to Group 1, because that is what our egg is attached to. And we're going to go to this. It says Create Group Null. We're going to toggle that down, and we're going to hit Create. Now what we just did there is we just made a group null for this egg. Now this egg has its own null object. And that is good because we can go to our original null, we can hit P on our keyboard. It's going to bring up the position of that null. We're going to click on the position, we're going to hit Command C for copy, and we're going to go to the position of our egg, hit P, hit Command V to copy that position. Now our egg is attached to our original null. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to come over here and grab this squiggly line. It's called a pick whip. I'm going to pick whip that null to our original null, so anything we change is going to do the same to both nulls. Now, as you can see, we still look like we're kind of floating in the air right there. It doesn't really look like it's on the ground. It just kind of looks like it's just hanging out there. To fix that, we need to grab our group null, and we need to kind of position it a little bit kind of where we want it. So maybe right there is a good, and if I hit R on my keyboard, that brings up our rotation, and we can actually rotate our object to best fit our scene. Maybe something like that. I don't know. You can play with it and make your egg any position you want. I'm just gonna go ahead and call that good. Now that's a little better, but as you can see, we are still not quite there yet. So what I'm going to do is we need to integrate this better, and to do that it needs to look like it's kind of sitting in. If I grab our element layer and turn this eyeball off right here, you can see we have these trees and then this kind of blank spot and a little more trees. We need to make the egg look like it's sitting in front of these trees, which is not right now. So what I need to do is I need to come up here and grab a new layer, new, and have a new solid. We're going to call this solid matte, M-A-T-T-E, for matte. What we're going to make here is we're going to make a matte layer to mask out those trees. So I'm going to come over here and toggle this little box on right here that is telling the computer to make that matte layer a 3D layer. We're going to hit position P on our keyboard. We're going to come up here to our original null that we made. Again, we're going to copy that, Command C, go to position, Command V, and now that solid is attached to that null, the same null that our egg is attached to. So in theory, that solid is in the same 3D space. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to turn the eye off for that layer, make sure we still have it selected. I'm actually going to come down here first and we're going to turn off our element layer. Now we're going to select our matte layer. And we're going to zoom in here and we're going to look at these trees and we're going to come up here and grab this pen tool, just like in Photoshop, the pen tool. And we're going to do our best to kind of draw out the shape of some of these trees. I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to where I've done this, that way you don't have to watch me make each point. Alright guys, here we are. I drew my mask around, this very, very rough mask around these trees, and I'm going to go ahead and turn the eye layer back on. As you can see now, we have this weird looking, I don't even know what you would call that, weird looking mask around our trees. So we're going to parent this to our null object, and we are going to turn our element layer back on. As you can see, now we have our trees in front of our egg, sort of. So we need to grab our matte layer, drag it on top of our element layer, and use this toggle switch and toggle on our track matte options here. If you don't have it, you can just toggle the switch, it goes on and off. But we're going to set our matte to, our element matte to the alpha. Alpha inverted. And as you can see now, we have our egg into our shot. And we can come up here and kind of refine this mask a little bit by toggling it down, hitting mask, go to mask, feather, and we can sort of give it a little bit of feather like in Photoshop, maybe a 4-ish. Should be decent, maybe. As you can see, it tracks pretty good. So now our egg looks more integrated into our shot. Now we can grab our null object here and we can move our egg around a little bit to kind of make it fit a little better into our scene. But yeah, that's the main gist of it. And now that we have that done, it's just a matter of adding some lights, adding some different elements to make it fit and integrate even better. So we're going to come up here to our element layer, we hit scene setup, we have our egg here. What I'm going to do is hit create, and create what's called a plane. You can't see it, but if I increase the X and Y of this plane, you can see it start to come out, and I can drag it underneath my egg a little bit. And basically this is just a flat solid. Basically I'm just using this flat surface as a shadow map for our egg, and actually brought it up a little bit to make it look like it's going through the ground. Go back over here to my materials, and we're going to select the matte shadow material and drop that on. And now we're going to hit OK. And we're going to go to our render settings and go to ambient occlusion and hit enable, and then we're going to hit ray traced. Now we have a shadow on the ground where our egg is. It makes it look like it's actually sitting there on the ground, which is what we want. Our drone shot was shot at dusk. We need to add a light to kind of resemble that dusk. So I'm going to come up here to Layer, New, Light. I'm going to make it a spotlight at 150 is fine. Hit OK. And our light is way back there. So I'm going to hit P for position. And we're just going to push this in. And I can drag it around our scene here, and we're going to try to match the look of our scene with our light. We're just going to move it around until we get a kind of look that we like. I turn it on and off. I kind of like that. It's kind of rims a little bit of the sky, and we have our nice kind of looking light. But yeah, here's our shot. As I said earlier, guys, I was going to show you the other way of doing this using a 2D object. What you can do is you can actually, I'll just hide my element layer, go down here to our drone shot, and we'll click on this camera tracker again, see our points are still here, and we'll just grab 3 more. So, I don't know, maybe we'll grab these 3 right here, hit right click on it. Again, we're just going to make a null. So we have our null object right here, and we're going to come up here to our text layer, and I'm going to type in something, your text here. Obviously that's really big, and we don't need it that big, so I'm going to come over here and we're going to scale it down, toggle this switch right here, and make it a 3D layer. It made it black because our light is still in there, so I can turn that off. Hit position on the keyboard just like last time, position on our null object, copy and paste the position of the null to the position of the text, and voila, we have our text floating in our shot. Alright, here's another example, guys. I got this sword off of free3d.com, and the rock came shipped with the element, so I figured why not do the Excalibur Sword in the Stone, because that's just fun. So just tracked it in, and yeah, guys, you can do whatever you think of. You put whatever you want into your shot. It didn't have to be 3D, it didn't have to be the text. You could even do like a picture or anything really. You can draw something, take a picture of it with your phone, bring it in After Effects, and track that in. That doesn't matter, guys. Sky's the limit. Just be creative and just have fun with it. Thanks again for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to hit me up. I will be more than happy to try to walk you through any of the steps that we just took. Until then, stay safe, keep shooting.